It's a rhythm Australians have gotten used to. The weekly ritual of collecting our plastic, paper and glass and walking them to the curb. Australians are world leaders in curbside recycling, confident we're contributing to a system that works.
There's a big need for it. We can't just have everything just being dumped in the tips.
But neither is most of it being recycled in Australia. Instead, it's sent overseas. For the last decade, about half of Australia's waste paper and plastic has been sold to China, where it is recycled into new products. But not anymore.
The Chinese have really banned the importation of material from all around the world. Approximately half of the world's recyclables were going to China. So the supply from the Australian market and from other markets continues, but the demand has disappeared by 50%.
We are in a crisis and it requires serious action to get out of that crisis.
Recycling is a commercial transaction, which only works if someone wants to pay for our recyclable commodities. China's ban has seen the price of recyclables plummet. The value of recyclable paper and plastic has dropped by up to 80%. Simply put, recycling in Australia is becoming an unprofitable business. Additional transport costs mean that regional areas like Dubbo are even worse affected by the China ban.
It's already worth a lot less than what city recycling product is. So therefore, going to China, it's already worth a lot less. If you're a council that's coming up to renewing a contract, guaranteed the contractors are going to have to turn around and say, well, I'm not making any money out of China anymore. They're not buying the product. So they're going to have to put prices up, which in turn will be passed on to ratepayers.
Rate increases to pay for recycling could cost Australian households up to $40 more a year. But rate increases alone will not solve the problem of where our recyclables go.
It could be argued, what is the point in a recycling regime in Australia full stop if the recycling only ends up in a place like this anyway? What's the point of that? So we could be effectively charging for recycled product to be collected by the private companies, and then those private companies have no option other than to dump it in a tip anyway, so in landfill. So it's a disaster on two fronts.
We may see some recyclable material end up in landfill. Now, it hurts me to say that, but that's the likely scenario. That's what industry experts are telling me, that we're likely to see recyclable material end up in landfill in the next 2 or 3 months.
State governments have committed millions of dollars in emergency money to keep curbside recycling alive. 47 million in New South Wales and 13 million in Victoria. Most of the money is likely to go to local councils so they can keep paying contractors to empty our bins. But what they're collecting is increasingly being stockpiled in recycling centres and warehouses.
Let's at least store them for a time until we can get the contracts right, until we can create some domestic demand, and then utilise these stockpiles in a way that continues to maintain jobs and continues to provide the environmental benefit. The last thing anybody would want is for that material to end up in landfill.
Stockpiling is a short-term solution to an issue that we're not dealing with correctly. It's just giving us time to try and work it out. When we're looking for the governments to help us work this out as quickly as we can.
But stockpiles can be dangerous, as Australia witnessed last July, when a recycling centre at Coolaroo in Victoria burned for 11 days. Castor Murillo and his family were living close by.
My eyes were burning, I was disorientated, lightheaded. It hurt to breathe and I felt like throwing up. I wasn't sure what was happening.
Castor Murillo is the lead plaintiff in a class action against the recycling centre's operators and has moved far away.
This has happened before at this recycling plant and People talk, but no action was taken. So the only thing left for me to do was to get my family out of there. So here we are, beautiful Gold Coast, clean air, no recycling plants around here.
There's absolutely no need for there to be any stockpiles of glass waste within Australia when companies such as ourselves have developed processes that can turn waste into a product that can be used throughout Australia. So this is the finished product. It's a recycled road-based sand. It can be used widely within the civil construction industry, whether it be in asphalt, road-based products or pipe bedding.
A company in Victoria is already offering one solution to Australia's recycling crisis by repurposing stockpiles of unwanted glass, turning them into a sand that can be used in construction. It wants more government support.
Governments absolutely need to take the lead. So without their support and endorsement through specification and ensuring that they buy it and reuse it in their projects, you won't get the traction that's required for this particular product.
We've got Snowy Hydro 2 coming up with 27 kilometres worth of tunnelling and all the roads that go with that. The federal government has an opportunity right there, together with other procurement projects, to say, look, we want recycled content, be it glass, be it mixed plastic, be it other materials, in the specifications to build these things.
Industry leaders believe the time has come for Australia to rethink its entire recycling system.
What I'd really like to see is a circular economy here in Australia like what we see in Europe, and that is about just stimulating the market for the products, looking at waste not as just something that we use something and then we throw it in the bin. It's actually how can we be reusing these waste streams in various activities.
We're going to have to get smarter about building a new industry. The Chinese have acted to build their industry. Our opportunity is to act to build our own industry now.